Tonight on KGW News, flames shoot out of a North Portland business, how firefighters helped prevent a possible disaster. Plus, say goodbye to free parking after 7.
A move like this feels to me like one of the final nails in the coffin.
How downtown businesses are pushing back.
And in Woodburn, hundreds make it out for the first night of the city's annual Fiesta Mexicana, a celebration of culture and community.
But first, peace talks between Putin and Trump.
We had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on.
As a 3-hour meeting in Alaska,
I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good, businesslike, and trustworthy contact.
ends without a real understanding of what the two world leaders discussed. Thanks for joining us. I'm Catherine Cook, in for David. Tonight, President Trump is on his way back to Washington after meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. The two met at a U.S. military base in Anchorage to discuss a potential end to the war in Ukraine. The results of that discussion and what happens next are still very unclear. Jay Gray has the story.
President Trump, after rolling out the red carpet literally for Vladimir Putin, providing a ride in the presidential Beast limousine despite a waiting Russian vehicle, and nearly 3 hours of talks behind closed doors.
There's no deal until there's a deal.
No deal, despite both leaders.
I expect that today's agreements will be the starting point.
Referring to agreements.
Many points were agreed to.
What those points are, undefined.
Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there.
Getting where, unclear. During brief statements, neither providing details or specifics on what was discussed. And refusing to answer any questions.
I was hoping to hear that there would be a trilateral meeting. That didn't come out of this. I was hoping to hear there'd be a ceasefire. That didn't come out of this.
Pre-summit skepticism from officials in Ukraine giving way to frustration. A member of parliament posting, "It seems that Putin has gained more time. No ceasefire or de-escalation has been agreed upon."
And I want to see if we can get it done.
In a post-summit interview on Fox, the president saying the next step to a ceasefire is another summit.
They're going to set up a meeting now between President Zelensky and President Putin. And myself, I guess.
Though, like most everything else unfolding here today, there are no details about where, when, or how that might happen. Now, the president did say his next step is to call Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, as well as other European and NATO leaders, to share with them details about today's meeting. Jay Gray, NBC News, Anchorage.
A Portland-based nonprofit is weighing in on the Trump-Putin summit from Ukraine, just miles from the front lines. DAWN, which stands for Defend, Aid, Widen, Nurture, has been delivering medical supplies and support to Ukraine since the war began. They also help refugees settle in Oregon. The group's co-founder has been in Ukraine for over a week. She saw firsthand the effects of 3.5 years of war. She doesn't want people in Ukraine to be forgotten.
It's important, I think, for the president to stay focused on why on the objective of this meeting and not be swayed by the offers of that Russia may come up with offering economic cooperation or various ways to sweeten the deal.
Before learning the outcome of today's summit, she told us she hoped for a ceasefire and that prisoners of war would be released. In other headlines, Multnomah County officials are now reporting a second death, likely related to this week's extreme heat. First responders found the body of a 57-year-old woman in the 97214 zip code. For reference, that includes inner southeast Portland. Yesterday, they announced the death of a 59-year-old man in the 97233 zip code. That area includes the Rockwood neighborhood. The medical examiner's office is working to officially confirm the cause of death. Let's take a look outside on this Friday night. Much cooler with clouds today. Quite a contrast to the extreme heat earlier this week. Celine Stevens is in for Matt with a first look at your weather impact forecast. Hi, Celine.
Hi, Catherine. Yeah, definitely a big change. And, we're seeing that rain moving in now, really. Other areas have been seeing the rain today, Timberline along the coast as well. But it looks like in the Portland area, we're finally going to start seeing some of that drizzle right about now. A couple hours late, but still 70 degrees right now. Pretty muggy outside, too. 84% humidity. Those winds blowing at 14 miles per hour. It's been a breezy day as well. And we're looking at our sky cam at the Chehalem Tasting Room in Sherwood. And you'll see the rain coming down there, definitely. That's been happening for the last few hours. They're sitting at 68 degrees right now. So again, that rain has been pushing through our area. The coastal areas have been seeing that rainfall all day long. Astoria, Tillamook, Newport, Lincoln City. Of course, now it's finally pushed into our area. Portland was a little dry. All areas surrounding Portland was seeing that rainfall earlier, but we've just started to see some of that drizzle as it continues to push east, which will continue overnight. So overnight's when we're going to see the bulk of this rain really starting to come down. It's going to start off pretty light, but again, by early morning Saturday, that's when we're really going to see that rain pushing through the area. So we're looking at 11 p.m. right now. That rain is moving through. That continues, but then by 4 to 5 a.m. it's already starting to end. So at that point, we'll see around a quarter inch of rain or so. And then for Saturday, overall, it looks like we'll be mostly dry, chances of some scattered showers, but nothing too significant. We'll talk more about rain totals and the rest of your weekend coming up in a bit.
Thanks, Celine. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines, police have identified the man shot and killed at a North Portland motel. Officers say 41-year-old Philip Redmond was found Monday night at the Super Value Inn on North Interstate. The motel manager tells us he heard a fight, then saw two people running from the room. The manager found Redmond's body and called 911. Detectives are working to track down the person or people responsible. If you have any information on this case, you're asked to call Portland Police. Also in North Portland, crews responded to a fire at a party supply store this afternoon. That's Boom Boom Balloons on North Lombard. It shares a building with other businesses which were also at risk. Fortunately, firefighters were able to knock it down quickly.
The structure that was on fire, there was potential for fire to spread horizontally across all those other attic spaces, but the first crews made such a quick knock that didn't happen.
No one was hurt. The cause of the fire is under investigation. And good news for folks who frequent the Oregon coast. That notorious bump on Highway 26 near Seaside, you know the one, is finally getting a full fix. Slides and underground water created the bump, which has been blamed for several crashes and damage. ODOT has been using temporary patches and even lowered the speed limit to help. But this effort is expected to solve the problem for good. That said, prepare for delays as crews reduce traffic from 4 lanes down to 2. They'll be out there Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for about a month. And say goodbye to free street parking after 7, at least in some parts of the Rose City. Jake Holter tells us why.
Parking downtown is difficult. Well, now it's going to be even more difficult when you have to pay for an extra 3 hours of it.
It's a death knell for downtown Portland.
Local residents and businesses sounding off after the Portland Bureau of Transportation announced they will be extending the paid street parking hours from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
If people realize when they're booking an event here that they all have to pay for parking up till 10 p.m., they'll take their business elsewhere. They'll go to the suburbs where parking's free.
Cal's Irish pub owner Lucy McAleese, speaking with us off camera, says she was blindsided by the move and thinks it's another blow to downtown business.
A lot of businesses are just hanging on by a thread, and something like this just is counter business. It seems counterintuitive. I don't understand.
It's unfortunate. I think if we're trying to get a little bit more foot traffic down here in the downtown area, adding in 3 more hours of time that people have to pay for parking, especially later, is going to disincentivize people.
The hours change comes just weeks after parking fees were hiked, all in an effort to close the department's funding gap. But PBOT spokesperson Dylan Rivera says it's also intended to create more parking availability.
We're starting to see folks circling the block. We're starting to see higher occupancy in those evening times.
When asked, Rivera said he doesn't see cause for concern with the new hours.
We see evidence of folks going where they want to go and not being that sensitive to price.
Jake Holter, KGW News.
A week after President Trump called on the CEO of Intel to resign, a Bloomberg report says the administration might take a stake in the chipmaker. This comes after Intel cut thousands of positions in Oregon last month. Last week, the president called for Intel CEO Lip Bhutan to resign. But just 2 days later, the two men met to discuss the company. Yesterday, Bloomberg News reported the administration is now considering using CHIPS Act funding approved by the Biden administration back in 2022 to take a stake in the company. The move could possibly help build factories in Ohio. Local business advocates say the government has done this before in the auto and airline industry. They say if Intel gets the cash infusion, it would be good news for the region.
Anything that helps Intel reach its goals of onshoring, reshoring manufacturing, of growing manufacturing around the country is good for our region. You know, even if these dollars go directly to Ohio, the manufacturing there is driven by the R&D that happens here.
Intel stock has surged, gaining about 20% just this week. New tonight, a decades-long tradition continues this week in Marion County. Woodburn's Fiesta Mexicana. Alma McCarty was there and talked with people about what this event means at this very moment.
What began as a family affair in 1964, thanking farm workers at the end of harvest season, has since blossomed. Now a days-long fiesta, an annual tradition drawing thousands.
This event is like a county carnival inside the city of Woodburn. We have a parade, all the components, 70+ vendors, lots of food, lots of fun.
This marks the 61st year, a celebration of the community's rich cultural history happening all weekend at Woodburn's Legion Park. Friday evening, light rain and overcast skies didn't stop the soccer tournaments, the rides, or the music. Although there was some concern.
We were worried about the attendance.
Elida Cifuentes tells me she is grateful to see a good turnout, especially with the weight of recent threats to this community.
We have a high Hispanic population. Even myself being born here in the United States, I thought to myself, do I have to have my passport, you know, because ICE was coming and stopping people and stuff. I think it made everybody uneasy.
In times of unease, gatherings like this, she says, can be healing.
Anything else, you know, you kind of come to these events, you celebrate the music, the food, and you forget about what's going on around the world. Just for this 1 hour, 2 hours, you're happy and you celebrate your culture.
That invitation extended to all.
You're very welcome to this park and celebrate with us, celebrate life, celebrate the Hispanic culture.
In Woodburn, Alma McCarty, KGW News.